Throughout 2025, I've done my fair share of time on the bank trying to catch big carp. I dare say I've probably done over 100 work overnighters and a few other sessions to add to that as well, but I just didn't feel like I quite got the rewards I was after, which is why in November I decided it was time to make the 5-hour journey back down to the infamous town of Yateley, and I arrived at the East Complex. The complex itself is made up of the Blackwater River and the 3 main lakes. The first one you come to is the Match Lake, which has carp over £50 and catfish over £100. You've then got the Nursery Lake, which I've labelled myself Snag Heaven, as you'll probably see why later in this video. And then there's the one I had my heart set on to begin with, the lovely Copse Lake. Copse Lake itself is around 4 acres in size. It's made up of islands, bays, bars, snags and a lot of weed and a very nice head of carp. The 2 most sought after ones are known as shoulders in the orange. They've both broken the £40 barrier in the past, so I'd be absolutely buzzing with either of them, but I'd also be made up with a lot of the 20-pounders in here, as it's safe to say there's a lot of hidden gems in this lake. Originally, I planned to start in a swim known as the Oaks due to seeing the fish here in previous sessions. However, upon arriving in the hours of darkness, I discovered a big branch had actually snapped off and fell into the water, so I decided I was going to avoid this area for now, and I began to quietly lap round the lake and see if I could find anything else. I arrived into a swim known as Richie's Bay, and because the area of the lake was quiet, I decided to quickly flick my head torch on, and to my surprise I saw a small fish slowly sink down out of sight. It could have either been a small carp or a big tench, but that was enough for me. I quickly made my way back to the van and I started to bundle my gear onto the barrow and headed back to the swim.
Right, so there's the first solid bag made up.
Right, so as you can see now the rods are in, and that's because our good old mates the swans have decided that they like the look of the krill pellets, so I'm going to leave them be for a couple hours, let them do their thing, and have a good lap round the lake now. I think with the sun being up behind us over there, the back left corner over that side is going to be a pretty good shout. I saw a few of them there last time in the early hours of the morning, so I'm definitely going to be interested to see what's over there. But yeah, I'm going to head round anyways, do a full lap of the lake, see what's about, and then we'll come back, get sorted and go and get a nice breakfast, I think. Unfortunately, I could see that the swans were going to make things pretty difficult fishing in that swim, so I decided to go and check out the Oaks again now it was light. After seeing a little bit of fizzing in the swim next door and a show down the right hand margin, I quickly made my move. Right, so after saying that, I think we'd be stupid not to get a bucket in this swim. We'll get back round on the opposite side now, get all my gear packed up, and I think we're just going to stick one obviously straight down there where we've just seen that one show itself, and then one somewhere either off the front of here or off the tips of the tree branches. I'm just going to do a little bit of investigating on the lead first. I think that'll be a pretty solid approach going into the second night. Got my first solid bag tied. I've added a little bit of cork in there to this one, because I've realised I've got krill dumbbells, not wafters. So to give it that bit of extra buoyancy, just in case it's coming and just carefully eating the bag, I think that'll help hook up into its mouth and hopefully swing the odds in our favour a little more. Here goes. Another night passed with no carp to show, unfortunately. However, I decided that I was going to stay put in this swim. This was because I knew all the other lakes had been fishing pretty tricky and there wasn't much else to go off, to be honest with yous. Right, we'll get this first rod back out on this one. Luckily for me though, this turned out to be the right decision, as early into the hours of darkness, the rod fishing over to the tree, hooped round and I began to play in a pretty nice carp. Right, so we've got something in the net. Definitely a carp. Yep. That'll do me. And there it is. My first fish from the Yateley Copse Lake. This one from under the tree, my left hand rod. I'm not sure what it weighs yet, maybe a mid-20. I'm going to pop it on the scales, but what a start. Just going into the third night now, so not even halfway through the week. Still plenty of time for another bite. Have a quick look at the other side, pop it on the scales and get it back, but what a lovely fish to open the Copse Lake account with. Well, here's one last look at it. A lovely scaly one from Copse Lake. Going into the third night. Still 4 more nights ahead of us. Hopefully now we've got a spot rocking, we can manage a couple more, maybe meet one of the bigger residents, but either way, I'm over the moon with this one, so I'll see you back now. After putting that one back, I settled down and eventually I did manage to get a few hours sleep. That was until about 6 in the morning when that same rod slowly sounded into life with a slightly less savage take.
And so there it is, the second bite from the YATELEY Copse Lake. This one probably only a low double. Didn't quite have the strength to rip off like the last one did, but after a few slow beeps I picked up and I hit into it, and I was pretty relieved to see another little stocky, to be honest, as I was half expecting to see a tench go over the net. But either way, lovely to get another one within the night. Good signs that the tactics are working and we should be in for a few more this week. Right, there's the second half. I've done quite a bit of yapping now, so I'm going to give it slip back. Right, so it's been a pretty quiet morning this morning, obviously since I had that stocky. Wasn't a quiet night, but yeah, I've had a nice lie-in. It was definitely needed. I'm going to take this rod in a second, make my way to the shops, grab a bit of lunch and some extra supplies, and then we'll be getting both of them back out for the evening. Obviously one's going straight on the money spot. The other one, as I mentioned previously, I think I'm going to go and try and make a spot with a weed rake somewhere. I was thinking either along the back margin or down here on the right somewhere, as there's been a couple of lumps show themselves through the night, but I'll make that decision when we get back.
I began to rake a spot out with the weed rake, and once it was done I placed a pop-up rig over it. I knew that this was going to be a pretty risky tactic, however I've seen it work really well on some tricky lakes close to home, so I decided that I was going to give it a go. Unfortunately, I think I may have spooked them off this spot, as the next two nights were pretty uneventful for us. I did hear them showing still low behind the island, and I didn't see much while I was walking the other lake, so I decided that I was going to stick with it and stay in this swim. Luckily for me, this decision did pay off on the third night since the last fish. The same rod again, hooped round and produced once more.
Right, so there it is, my third carp from the YATELEY Copse Lake. It's been a couple of quiet nights, but I've stuck with the area. I've still seen signs of fish about, and it's paid off. It's not one of the big ones yet, but it is £14. I've got a few more nights at our disposal yet, so there's still time to get a couple more, but either way, it doesn't have to be the biggest one when it looks like this. It's a lovely scary one. Yeah, I'm going to go slip back anyways, get the rods back out, and hopefully time for another one tonight. Here's a quick look at the other side of it. It's a little stunner, this one. But I'm going to get that rod back out anyways, and hopefully, like I say, it's time for another bite tonight.
To my disappointment, there was no flurry of action after that bite, and once again it seemed like the carp had started to drift away. I ended up spending another 4 nights in that swim. If I could have at one point, I would have moved over into the swims on my left after seeing fish show out in front of them, but unfortunately for me at that time, there were anglers in those swims. So I stayed put where I was, and I hoped that the disturbance they made would push them back into my area. Even though it was tough, I was just happy to be at YATELEY. The lakes are all beautiful and they offer some great rewards when the fishing does come right. I spent the next night watching wildlife, chatting to other anglers, and I even enjoyed a few fireworks. The third night of the blanking spree was when I began to make a bit of a change. After walking around the Nursery lake, I spotted a little bit of fizzing, and after investigating with a lead, I found a couple of likely looking areas I decided to pre-bait. I packed up on Copse Lake the next morning and I made my way around to the Nursery lake, and it's safe to say, with the wind pushing into my area, it looked very nice for it. I decided to go with a bit of change of tactics this night, as I pre-baited with 20mm krill boilies. I used the krill dumbbell the same way I did before, with a little bit of cork inside of it, and I wrapped it in krill paste to match the hatch with the boilies that had been pre-baiting. It didn't take long at all for my efforts to be rewarded, as at about 11 o'clock my right hand rod hooped round, and after carefully battling the fish out of the margin, I had a pretty nice one set in the net.
And the right rod there is just hooped round. I've already had it out and weighed it. We've got a nice 21-pound mirror in the sling, but in the process of bringing it in, got an absolute massive clump of weight in with it, and it wiped the other line out. So plans are, we'll get it out, we'll have a look at it, and then I think we're just going to put the one rod back on the spot that's done the bite down there, and then tomorrow we'll reassess what to do with the other rod, maybe look for a spot elsewhere further down the left margin. But what a result. First night on Nursery, first carp in the bag. Right, so there it is, my first fish from the YATELEY Nursery lake on the first night. It's an absolutely carnage of a battle with this one. It wiped the other rod out, brought a load of weed in, but I'm buzzing we're after a flyer. 21 pounds of lovely mirror carp, so happy days. I'll get a look at the other side quickly and we'll get her put back. Yeah, there's a look at the other side of it. An absolutely stunning fish, this one. Yeah, it's pretty angry, you can see with its fin up, so we're going to get her put back before he starts kicking off. Back into a snaggy old nursery.
The morning after I caught that fish, I decided to go and pre-bait the Copse Lake again, just to keep my options open in case the fish spooked off. And sure enough, the next night was very quiet and I could hear them showing out in between the snaggy islands where it was pretty unfishable. With it being a quiet night, that next day I decided to move back onto the Copse Lake. I put one rod back under the tree what I'd been doing the bite, and I had a lead about where I'd previously raked, and to my surprise the spot felt really clean, so I put another rod on that and I put about 20 boilies over the top of it. It was like it was meant to be. On the final night, my rod that I put on the rake spot slowly began to give line, and I quickly ran over and began to play in a really nice carp. After a pretty intense battle and a few twists and turns, I managed to bundle a pretty nice common into the net.
So the right rod's hooked round. It's 20 to 7 now. I've got a nice mid-20 common sat in the sling down there. One of the lads has come round to help us with the photos now. It's definitely worth staying this extra night. And they're shown over there too under the tree, so with a bit of luck, I might be able to nick another one.
Definitely nice,
yeah, definitely worth staying that extra night. Lovely 23.5 common, crusty back on it. I hope it's one of the originals, but if not, either way, it's a lovely pristine fish. I'm absolutely made up with the decision to stay here. Oh, yeah. Mega one this. The other side of this absolutely stunning common. Made up of it. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I'm just absolutely buzzing with it.
No,
yeah. Happy with this one, very happy. Get a couple of quick shots and get it back there.
Yeah.
Nice one, appreciate that, mate.
Go back.
Oh yes. She's angry.
As you could see there, I was absolutely made up with that carp. The rest of the night did pass pretty quietly, but that didn't dishearten us at all. I finished the session the next morning with a total of 5 carp. It might not seem like the most prolific amount of fish to people to catch in 2 weeks, however, these are some very tricky waters and the stamp of fish I had were absolutely lovely, so safe to say I left the Yateley that morning a very happy angler. See you later.
Here's my first fish from the Yateley Copse Lake. This one from under the tree, my left hand rod. Not sure what it weighs yet, maybe a mid ready, but yeah. Let's get it put back, because as you can see by the fin up, it doesn't look too happy. Yeah, definitely worth staying that extra night. Lovely 23.5 common, crusty back on it. I hope it's one of the originals, but if not, either way, it's a lovely pristine fish. I'm absolutely made up with the decision to stay here.